Yes, yes. You got the right mic on, Jackson?
I do.
Because I'm in a different spot today.
Yep, I got them all up.
Look at you.
Yeah.
You're dialed in on a Friday.
Stick and move, Tim. Adapt or die. That's the motto I subscribe to.
Live free or die, New Hampshire.
Is that New Hampshire or Vermont? It's New Hampshire. It's New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And that's where Vito went to meet Johnny Cakes. Am I correct?
Well, he went up there. He eventually met Johnny Cakes. I don't know if it was his goal, but in the end, it's truly the only real...
A little double entendre. I caught it. It's childish. It's sophomore. It's beneath even you.
It's the only real loving relationship on the show.
I got it. And that's not cool. Especially with the Blues coming back and making history last night, Jackson. Unbelievable. And here at the start of Balloon Party, Jamie Rivers is with us? Is that what's going on?
I see. I think this screen just might be frozen, and he's stuck in there from yesterday. Yeah, that's Mike Ryder's giving me the thumbs up. That's correct.
Oh, I thought he was like, hey, I got to break this down. We just landed in Las Vegas 3 hours ago. But
I was going to say West Coast for Jamie to be. But they're like on this little picture I have, he's on the thing where he broadcasts remotely while he's doing games. But the image hasn't moved since I sat down here, so unless he's doing...
Maybe he's Phil Ivey after shoving all
some
in.
TM, some transcendental meditation.
Nice, I like that.
It's unlikely that he's actually there. But I could shoot him a text, say, what are you doing?
A lot of activity here because Randy Carricker accidentally had the mic fall off the mic stand, and so that is why I'm in a different location in the studio. For those watching on YouTube, and that's only 88 people, okay? But just for those of you watching on YouTube, I'm trying to see if I'm hotter in this spot or the other. Maybe send out a tweet and see if people think I'm hotter in this chair or if I'm hotter in the original chair. Are you smiling at Jamie Rivers again? Well, you guys have
No. Ryder told me to turn on some of the cameras and give it a wider view.
Okay.
And now he's giggling at me. And now he's just doing this to poor Craig. I mean, what are we doing?
Morning, Tim and Tug Boy.
What up?
You guys see Carlos Boozer's kids are going to Duke? I didn't either. I was too busy watching the Blues make their biggest comeback in the last 25 years. Well, that just carried over from the TMA segment in which, Jackson, what do you consider to be the bigger story? Carlos Boozer's kids announcing that they're going to play basketball at Duke, or the Blues coming back and starting their season 2-0 after being behind 4-1 entering the third period?
In St. Louis, most certainly the latter.
Good for you.
Nationally, most certainly the former.
Oh, God, no.
Truth hurts, I guess. Truth hurts. That is the case. But, locally, I would definitely say that the Blues' outstanding comeback in the third period last night supersedes, I think it's Caleb and Caden Boozer who are heading to Duke, play for John Shire.
And you think nationally, though, more people are talking about that?
Yeah. I mean, Carlos Boozer famously essentially sharpened his hairline. And
what was that about?
I don't know. But for those of us who are follically challenged, both of us included.
Yeah, I don't think you really are.
I was trending that way and might trend there again. But right now we're holding strong, powerful. But I think that was a real moment where it was he tried that out and people said, no, don't do that. And now the rest of the bald men were like, okay, we can't do that. Rule that one out.
I didn't even know that was in place. So he painted his head?
Essentially, it looked like what would be shoe polish was on his head. And
it wasn't like a joke. It was a real thing.
It seemed pretty real. Yeah.
So if I came in on Monday, would anybody go, hey, any idea where Trajan Langdon's boy is going? Thanks. That's from the 573.
I don't know. Trajan? There was a Trajan Jeffcoat who played for the Missouri Tigers.
You don't know Trajan Langdon?
No.
Wow. Surprised by that. Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-mm.
Well, look at you.
No,
huh. Kind of a surprising moment. The audience is going to be thrown off by that. Well, while you try to force college basketball and NBA down our throats, I'm not going to let it happen. Not after down 4-1. Would the audience mind if I tell a little anecdote from this morning at 5 a.m.?
I would hope so.
Okay. So, here, full transparency, because this is honesty in media. And because I'm honest, I'm not going to allow this Carlos Boozer grooming segment. I get up, and when the Blues are starting at 9:30, and I got to get up, and I got to do HD2 radio for 3 hours, because I'm a heavy hitter in the market. I didn't stay up to watch the game live like I'm sure you did.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do is I grab my phone and I immediately go to YouTube to see the Blues and Shaq's highlights.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I become angry as a hornet because I see where I went to go. They say final score, Blues win in OT. So I'm watching the YouTube highlights, and it gets to 4-1, and I'm thinking to myself, well, whoever was handling the YouTube graphics looks like they're going to be in trouble because Blues lose this thing, obviously.
Too worried about Boozer.
They're too worried about the Boozer boys. That's right. And it's Caden and Cameron.
I think Caleb. I want to say Caleb.
Cameron. He's going to name it after Cameron Indoor Arena. Think about it.
One of them's Caden. I know that.
Caden Cross, friend of the show.
Right, FFF.
So it's 4-1. I'm going, boy, this sucks. Because now I'm thinking, man, they've had 2 games where it was kind of rough. I know they got the comeback on Wednesday or Tuesday, but now you got this. And then here we go, brother. 4-2. 4-3, but it's still not complete until we're in the final minute of play. And here's Justin Falk with an empty net and the Blues deep in the San Jose zone.
Was that you?
I thought you were setting up the audio. I noticed you turned away from me to click the audio.
I opened it.
And I thought, oh, this is good. I don't have to communicate. I need to play the sound.
This seating arrangement's got me all out of whack. Here we go.
So many excuses.
Kyrou gets it back. Snaps it over to the far wing. Shin with a minute to go. Sets it up. To the blue line. Kyrou taps the stick, wants it, has it, passes. Thomas. Thomas leaves it. Falk shoots it. They score! A deflection in front off of Justin Falk's shot. And the Blues have come back to tie the game at 4. 47 seconds to go in the third period. Justin Falk has tied it for the Blues.
Boom!
Now on for the Blues, joining Butch Navich. Shen brings it in on Wallman. Shen shoots. He scores! Game winner. Bring out the Zamboni. 5-4 final. The comeback complete. And the St. Louis Blues do it in San Jose.
How do you do?
Outstanding. Great call by Curbs. Great call by Curbs.
Well, it's both those calls for that matter. How do you do?
Yeah. The Falk goal.
We're gonna get a little breakdown.
Well, I mean,
God bless America. Let's hear it.
You're in the last minute of the game.
You believe it, Jackie Papers.
You're so close to making this comeback. You just guys get pucks on net. So you fire one. Jake Neighbors, who, as we talked about before, might have a heavy sweater one day, gets right in front of there, screens him. We got a little goal, and then once you've come back 3-0 or come back 3 in the third period, you'd have to think your momentum for overtime is just exponential. And
you think the Sharks are back on the heels, eh?
Absolutely. And you could tell, by the way, how quiet it was after that goal. It was like, wow, we squandered that one. I mean, you're up 4-1 the third period.
Blues had been 1-140 in their past 141 games when trailing by 3 goals or more entering the third period.
Yeah.
Well, guess what now, brother? It's 2-140. And you start the season with 2 comeback wins for a team that had struggled in coming back last season. You had the power play on display on Tuesday in Seattle, and you have the Blues mounting yet another comeback last night with Hofer and net because they're in Las Vegas tonight. And if you would have told me at the start of the season, nay, at the start of the second period in Seattle, nay, at the start of the third period in San Jose, that the Blues would be collecting 4 out of a possible 4 points to start the season on this West Coast road trip, why, I'd be delighted.
Yeah, kind of free rolling going into VGK.
You are free rolling.
Yeah.
For those of you who are thinking to themselves, okay, I'm happy with the 4 points. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to double my bankroll. Okay. Well, just to let you know, in order to win the cash, you're going to have to bet 190 because the VGK is minus 190 tonight. But if you're thinking, hey, these boys are carrying some momentum over, they want to do a little shocking of the world, Jordan Binnington will be in goal tonight. Blues are plus 165. You'll catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Pregame at 8 p.m., Jackson. We got a hell of a night in sports. We got the Blues and VGK.
Yep.
Padres and Dodgers deciding game.
Must-see television in my estimation.
And that is all an appetizer for Amherst, Massachusetts. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., it's fall foliage season, and Gabe DeArmond will break down the leaves in Western Mass with us next here on 101 ESPN. Welcome back to Bloom Party 101 ESPN. Timothy Michael McKernan, Jackson Bennett Burkett with you on the program. It's driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota, and every Friday it is our pleasure to welcome to the program, fresh off of Jackson's breakdown of the Blues' comeback victory last night, the Colonel Gabriel P. DeArmond, presented to you by CarltonInsurance.net. Morning, Colonel.
They're already playing hockey?
Oh, no. See, that's that Kansas City arrogance. Hey, we got a Super Bowl. Hey, we were just in the ALDS. Oh, you guys play hockey over there? How's your MLS team? We don't even pay attention. That's what that was, Gabe. It did. And the Blues are 2-0, and I can't believe they're not buzzing in Kansas City because over here in St. Louis, we're cheering for the Royals and Chiefs, and it freaks me out.
No, they're going to go however many games they play. I don't know how many that is, but they're going to win them all.
Oh, wow.
Good for you, Gabe.
You think we got a New England Patriots 2007, except they'll complete the task?
Well, no, I'm talking Blues. They'll go three draws. So however many 0 and 3, that's going to be the record.
I've never loved Gabe more than this very moment.
Somehow on this program, Jackson was no longer the least incompetent hockey mind. That was great. Colonel, this is the game we've had circled ever since we were confused by seeing it on the schedule. The trip to Amherst, Massachusetts. What time is your flight? I don't know. Gerard leaves sometime this afternoon. Couldn't tell you when. Yeah, I wonder, what do you do? You fly into Boston, I guess?
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Flying into Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh, nice. With the Whalers.
About an hour and a half drive from there, I think.
Yeah,
nice.
It's shorter than Boston. Boston's like 2 hours.
Jackson apparently has considered this. Somebody told me you were on a podcast about this game, and you guys did talk about the fall foliage.
We did. That's the highlight, I think. Pretty leaves. It's about time you could do some clam chowder and probably be happy with it. So,
yeah, a couple
in all seriousness, like if I'm a Missouri fan, this is a cool trip. I mean, it's something different. You get to go to a, semi-large size high school stadium for a game and see an area of the country you're probably not going to play in again.
Yeah. Jackson, you actually were considering going on this trip.
Yeah, I have a bunch of friends in Boston. I thought UMass was going to be closer to Boston, so I could kill two birds with one stone there. But Gabe, I've never been to a road Mizzou game. The only
That is so surprising.
Yeah, the only football games I've seen, like high-level football games, are at Faroe Field and the Edward Jones Dome. So you could say I've seen it all. So for the first one to be at Amherst at the Junkyard, I felt would have been perfect.
Yeah, it would have been solid. I actually thought about making this trip. I was going to take my wife, but we went to Boston in the spring and did not have to go to Amherst. So I felt like we had really covered all the bases there.
Yeah, once you've experienced it, I think that's enough. So the Colonel, Missouri's minus 27.5, and I know you don't necessarily do wagering insights. There's very little upside in that, but my thought process on this is because of what took place last Saturday at College Station. They're going to put it on these guys. I really think that. Now, I loved Missouri against A&M, and we saw how that played out. But I think that this is a spot where you could see Drinkwitz just going, okay, it's 55-0, and I don't care. We're just going to keep going. And that's what I think is going to happen tomorrow. Your thoughts on it?
I mean, they should. I think they're better than Murray State, but maybe not by a lot. I mean, Missouri should be able to pretty much name the score and have this in hand at halftime. But I just haven't seen anything out of this Missouri team in the last few weeks that tells me that's what they'll do. I mean, I made my prediction this morning. I did not pick Missouri to cover. Picked them to win pretty easily, but I don't think I could say – I don't know how you could say with any confidence that you think they're going to win a game by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, based on what we've seen. For the record, this team lost 34-3 to Buffalo, the team that Missouri lost 35-0. However, this program is pro-liberty.
Yes.
It's honesty in media, and it does not kink shame. And the other thing that is one of our tenets is we do not use the transitive property in college football. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, that means Georgia State would beat Georgia. Yep. Think about it. This also has a statistic that is quite fascinating to me, that Missouri played in front of close to 100,000 people last week at Kyle Field, and the maximum capacity of the Junkyard at Amherst, as it's known, is 17,000. So there's going to be an adjustment, and crowd noise shouldn't be a factor for Brady Cook.
I would certainly think not. And look, of those 17,000, I wouldn't be surprised if a third of them are Missouri fans.
Nice.
I was talking to a guy that covers UMass yesterday, and he said they're talking about a sellout or close to a sellout, which would be the first one in years. I mean, you're talking about 17,000 people. Again, I'm guessing 4,000 or 5,000 of which are Missouri fans, and probably still not going to sell this one out. So that kind of tells you where the Minutemen are these days.
And then Missouri will head home, and this is the game that will determine quite a bit, I think, about the direction of where things go, operating on the premise that tomorrow is a victory. If it is not, I would imagine your post-game show will just go 48 straight hours, and I might be in there for all of them. That would be a magical one. Is the game against Auburn. Auburn with a bye week this week. We saw what the bye week did for Missouri going into College Station. But we do have a few games in the SEC, and then certainly the headline game this weekend with Oregon and Ohio State. Any of these games that you're paying particular interest to, in addition to the one that most people are focused on tomorrow night, 6:30 at the Autzen Zoo, Eugene, Oregon, the Ducks hosting the Buckeyes?
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss at LSU, that is, I think, pretty much an elimination game at this point. You lose that game, either one of those teams, I think you're done as far as talking about the playoff. South Carolina, Alabama, I think that game's in Tuscaloosa. Like, you would expect Alabama to come back the way, the way you were talking about Missouri come back, just come out and say, okay, we're mad, and you're the one that gets to take the brunt of our frustration. But I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know if anybody in America is actually any good. Oregon and Ohio State is interesting because I think the winner of that is probably the first team, although I kind of punched Miami's ticket last week just because they seem like they're not only pretty good but also incredibly lucky. Like, it just seems like Miami will go. But I think the winner of Oregon, Ohio State not only has a playoff bid nearly sewn up, but the inside track to probably the number one overall seed at the end of the year.
Yeah, that'd make sense, especially if Ohio State were to get it on the road. I feel like if there's a team, and they're not in the SEC, so maybe it's not getting as much attention in our little world, that people went into the year thinking could be absolutely unstoppable, dominant. And maybe people thought that of Georgia, but they knew Georgia's schedule was brutal. It was Ohio State. So if they go in there and they win by a relatively comfortable margin, I think there'll be some buzz about Ohio State going forward throughout the rest of the year. And then the game in the SEC, but I don't know, maybe I doubt for the fans it's lost its luster, but none of Oklahoma's top 5 receivers from an offensively challenged football team are healthy or eligible to play in tomorrow's Red River Shootout against Texas. And so Oklahoma, which already has issues moving the football, will be that much more compromised as they try to take down the number 1 ranked Longhorns.
Yeah, it's always one of my favorite games of the year, but this just doesn't look. I can't see how this is a game. I mean, Oklahoma just hasn't really been very good this year. Texas has been very good this year, and I know weird things happen in rivalry games, but that's tough to see that one, closer than 2 or 3 scores.
Yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, that is a 2:30 kick. Your early SEC games outside of the foliage, and Amherst, Alabama hosting South Carolina. Your nightcap, a Saturday night in Baton Rouge with Ole Miss and LSU. Culture clash on the Bayou. And then, of course, you'll be able to enjoy the Guardians and the Tigers and, of course, Jackson, Ohio State, and Oregon. I mean, what else could you ask for?
It's the best slate so far this year.
Yeah,
and probably will be until we get to the college football playoff where you have home playoff games.
Colonel, psychologically, you got an undefeated defending world champion football team. Your baseball team just came up short. Great series. Just the Yankees were able to get 3 of the 4. How are you doing with that? Here's what I think's going on. Number 1, you're excited about the foliage game. But number 2, you're already feeling like, as a Kansas City sports fan, within the last decade, the Royals have won a World Series. They were in the one in 14 and nearly upset the Giants. And then you got the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. You probably are not like a spoiled Boston fan that sees all their teams win championships every other year. But that's what I think. How are you doing after the morning after the Royals lose to the Yankees?
No, I'm good. Monday night I had to borrow the YouTube TV login to do the side-by-side.
Oh, nice.
Watching both play national spotlight games. That was pretty cool. Look, the Royals, they won 56 games last year. Like, all I wanted was just get me interested till football starts, and they went beyond that. And, it's nice to see new blood chasing the title. I mean, the Yankees haven't been there since 2009. It's been a long time. You get a lot of much more historic franchises that have made multiple World Series since the plucky Yankees were able to get there. So
I like the
it's
plucky
nice
Yankees.
for those fans. They're having a hard week because, look, the Patriots are down. Alabama lost last week, so Yankees fans really need something to get excited about.
Well, one blue blood did have a good morning. Jackson tried to lead this program with Carlos Boozer's sons electing to play at Duke as opposed to the Blues comeback, and that was not met well by this particular audience. So at least one blue blood, unlike the plucky Yankees and their fans, kind of being treated like the Marlins fans here.
What about the Miracle Mets who get to spend all that money and yet
another
the
Subway
Mets.
Series?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's good for the people of New York to get some attention. I'm happy that Bob Costas is happy this morning. I know that it would have been crushing for him after listening to his descriptions of those 4 games if his Yankees had not made it further. So
Costas catching some hell, huh?
I'm not an anti-announcer guy. Like, I know your guy Joe Buck gets a lot of trouble for the Madison Bumgarner stuff. That never bothered me. That was historic, but it was fairly apparent the shift in tone for Mr. Costas during that series. I mean, New York guy Ron Darling was the down the middle guy on the broadcast.
Yeah, he's a Mets guy, so he probably has no love for the pinstripes.
Right, he actually probably wanted the Royals to win.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Colonel. Missouri and UMass tomorrow at 11 o'clock, and then the reality is, then at that moment, you talk about elimination games. It's on next Saturday. The game that we kind of probably, honestly, I think I was overlooking, becomes the most important game of the season, because if they lose this thing, I heard you on the podcast talking it over with Gerard, it's like they lose the thing against Auburn, now 6-6 comes into play. So,
yeah, I mean, they're anywhere between 6-6 and 11-1 right now. I'm just looking forward, in all seriousness, for tomorrow to be over. Like, I hate these games. I just hate these games that you know who's going to win.
They usually just don't pop up in the middle of October with a trip to the Northeast.
Well, one usually does in the SEC. Like, the SEC does this thing where mid-October, early November, they have this bye week, this self-imposed bye week where they all go try to schedule the Citadel, but only one of them can play the Citadel, so some teams have to go to UMass, I guess.
Right.
But it's a waste of a weekend. I mean, I don't understand it.
It will be tomorrow in about 25
Everybody watch,
hours.
though, and listen to the postgame show.
That's right. Come on by. The Colonel will be talking it over, probably doing a Chiefs preview show. That's Gabe DeArmond, PowerMizzou.com, every Friday here, brought to you by James Carlton. Thank you, Colonel.
All right, guys, have a good one.
There he is. That's Gabe DeArmond, fired up for tomorrow's Missouri-UMass game.
Seems like it.
Can't wait for it to be over.
I respect
Missouri, UMass, Gabe DeArmond. Can't wait for it to be over. That's tomorrow, 11 a.m., ESPN 2.
Yeah, production teams the world over scrambling to replace that audio.
How did that game get on ESPN 2?
I don't get it. I mean, the slate in the early morning isn't great, but
so Roll Tide will be on ESPN, and then you flip over and UMass is on ESPN 2?
Yeah, and outside of that, there's not a lot that would be like ESPN available properties that they could put in there.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other SEC game that early. A lot of SEC teams are on bye this week. It's a lot of teams are on bye this week.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm telling you, this time next week, I would imagine. Again, I'm operating on the premise Missouri's going to win tomorrow.
I think that's a fair premise to operate upon.
I'm heading down to homecoming. If you announce whether or not, you don't want to let people know because you don't want all the ladies down there.
Yeah, I like to go the day of, and an 11 a.m. kick.
You fly in private, and then you fly out.
Yeah. I helicopter, and I land right on top of Big 12.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, and then I just shimmy down like the little ladder, like I'm in Mission Impossible, and I walk to the stadium.
My goodness.
But people are looking around like, what's going on? And I act like, joke. I'm like Francesco Lindor rounding the bases.
Yeah, it's business.
Totally cool.
It's a business trip.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be in a suit.
No, that guy does a 1-hour midday show in St. Louis. That's why he gets this kind of treatment.
That's right.
That's what's going on. I didn't know that.
Listen, it's how the other half
driving
lives.
down there in the family truckster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Me and my wife.
What was the color again? Was it racing blue?
Well, it was wood paneling, and then kind of a lime green.
Yeah, pea green even.
Yeah. Family truckster. Ran into some problems in St. Louis with that vehicle.
Kids, are you noticing all this plight?
Yep. So Jackson, that's what I'll be doing. Meat and potatoes guy.
Yeah.
Just excited to see my almost alma mater playing War Eagle. That'll be the third time I've seen Auburn play.
2013 SEC championship.
Trey Mason. They ran a variety of different plays in that game.
And I can't imagine, HB dive. I can't imagine you saw one before the 2013 SEC championship.
But alas, I did.
Oh. So we go way back or like in the 2000s?
I don't know. What's your definition of way back?
80s?
No.
All right, so I'll go 2000. It might be a weird non-con to play Auburn. What, early 2000s? When you were in school there, maybe? Late 90s?
I mean, you got to do show prep, man.
I have to show prep on, your ticket stub collection?
1999, Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Oh, you saw. Okay, all right.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah, I forgot about your history.
Know the people you work with.
I know. That's actually an oversight on my part.
And I think it was Chris Chikuma, who would later play for the Dallas Cowboys, who had a big game for Arkansas against, I think, Bo Nix's dad, maybe.
Really?
I think that might be it.
Wow. You know how many, I've weird, totally kind of random, but you just brought up Bo Nix. He played in 120 plus college football games.
Mathematically impossible. That means he would have played a decade.
No, I'm telling you, he started so many college football games.
Liars never win and winners never lie.
I'm telling you, Bo Nix.
I'm going to take the under on the 120 college football games for Bo Nix, and I'll bet my bankroll. Fine, it's in the middle of the table. Bo Nix played 10 college football seasons, and nobody said, hey, you know this eligibility issue? I think we got to call you on it.
Bo Nix college game total.
I apologize to the audience because Jackson's on his dial-up looking for this information that we all know is not true. I guess we'll tease it because at this point, it's like 10:57.
Hold on, I'm finding it.
Okay, that'll do it. All right, we'll break. We'll come back. We'll find out how many games Bo Nix played in his college career. The bet is 120 over. And then also the little bit.
I was wrong.
Oh, no way.
61. Still a ridiculous amount. My bad.
So I just doubled my bankroll. That's incredible.
Well, I have some more actual proven stats coming up. A really interesting stat, actually. I think you'll like.
Will this be real or will this be fantasy?
This one I can prove.
That's Jackson McKernan. I'm Tim McKernan. This is Balloon Party 101 ESPN.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Another comeback victory last night as the Blue Note defeat the San Jose Sharks 5-4 in overtime. The Blues will play again tonight as they take on the Vegas Golden Knights in Sin City. You can catch that game right here on the home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. The pregame will start at 8 p.m. and the puck will drop at 9 p.m. right here on the home of the Blues, 101 ESPN. That was another Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back. Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you on the program. Gabe DeArmond talking it over regarding this weekend in college football, including the trip to see the fall foliage in western Massachusetts. Missouri minus 27.5. And we opened up the show. I was planning, candidly, on spending it on the Blues. And an incredible comeback last night to open up the season. Back-to-back comebacks. And then kind of a Carlos Boozer's sons choosing to play at Duke story was force-fed into the segment. And the audience just didn't delight in it. And I was reading the text inbox brought to you by Air Comfort Service, where you can text into the program 314-399-9646 during the commercial break. And Jackson heard me giggling like a little schoolgirl. Mm-hmm. And Jackson said, "I'm not going to read the text inbox," because you knew.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just like I know the sun will rise every morning, I will owe income tax to the great state of Missouri and to the United States government. I know that when I mess up, the text line, they feast.
Well, you got support here.
Oh, okay.
From the 636. Hey, Piddles, it is Cameron and Caden Boozer. Keep pissing them off with the basketball updates. That's from the 636.
You bet. I haven't had a basketball update in a while.
This is from the 913. That is Rock Chalk territory.
Got it.
Mizzou sucks.
Good one.
And he also said, this segment sucks. Let's talk Chiefs. And he calls himself Patrick Mahomes.
Oh.
Unless that is. And if so, I wouldn't mind. Maybe we don't have him on live, but Patrick Mahomes can leave a mic drop. I mean, they are on a bye week this week, and so maybe he's listening.
They got like a Mahomes logo going down for the Texas Tech uniforms coming up soon. They'll have a Texas Tech logo. That Beaker who texted in.
Oh!
You'll notice we have a Windward Lions helmet in the studio here, and that's a reminder of the only win Kansas has this year.
Wow. Yeah. 1-5, Rock Chalk. ILL shipped him.
You better believe it. ILL's got Purdue this weekend.
I'm going to lay the points, 21.5, I believe, with ILL.
Beautiful. I have 6 games for you to pick here, and that was one of them.
Oh, great.
ILL.
Well, let's do the games.
Right.
And I think I went 2-4 last week, so this is a segment everybody tunes in for.
Yep.
This is me making you money. Watch this. I make picks, you make money. I make picks, you make money.
I am also going to be on ILL because I think the Boilermakers stink. They, of course...
It'd be a pick'em if Boilermaker and Minuteman got together.
That's right. And that would be... What a game that would be. Yeah, Illinois is laying 21.5. That game kicks off at 2:30 p.m. in Champaign. Missouri heading to UMass. They are a 27-point favorite. 11 a.m. kickoff, Tim.
They are going to skull pound the Minutemen.
Yep.
I love Missouri minus 27.5. I really do. I'm thinking about coming out of retirement.
Oh.
I'm thinking about coming out. Now, for you, it would be a pittance. For me and most of the people who I grew up with and still will associate with,
Sure.
It'd be a lot of money.
Yeah, I get that.
So there might be $10 out there on Missouri minus 27.5.
I am also on Missouri minus 27.5.
Okay,
I
we're
don't
on
bet.
ILL as well.
Yep. All right, now we're getting into some of the meatier games.
Wow, shot at Illinois, Purdue. Okay.
Alabama at home against South Carolina. Alabama is laying 21 points against the Gamecocks.
Well, Jackson, you're right. A lot of people are talking about the Crimson Tide needing a bounce back. But what about Shane Beamer losing last week 27-3 against Lane Kiffin? And that begs the question, is Shane Beamer now getting into a spot where he might be fighting for his life when the Missouri Tigers come a-calling in about a month? Well, Alabama, I anticipate a big response and a lot of offense and probably forcing some turnovers on defense as well. I'll lay the points again. It's square time here on Balloon Party. It's nothing but big favorites that won't cover on 101 ESPN.
I am on South Carolina.
Oh, Beamer ball.
I am on South Carolina.
I don't like Kalen DeBro. You don't like the fact that he doesn't have the dialect. It's not going to work out. Harsin in Auburn, DeBoer in Tuscaloosa. Both are going to be out.
I just think South Carolina, after such a poor performance against Ole Miss, like backdoor cover. I don't expect this game to be very close, but maybe a backdoor cover for South Carolina. I am on the Gamecocks. The next game we'll be picking, Tim, USC at home against Penn State. The Trojans are getting 3.5, 230 kick against Penn State.
I'll take USC. I don't even hesitate.
Yeah, I love a home dog. I will also be on the Trojans. Fight on, I say.
Especially coming off a tough loss against Minnesota.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley's kind of getting himself into a spot in Southern California.
Yeah, and I think Penn State is really powered by that home crowd there at Happy Valley. I think even going on the road against what many wouldn't consider the toughest environment at the Coliseum, still a road game where you're traveling a long distance, I'll take USC.
All right, fair enough.
We got another home dog, Death Valley night game, LSU getting 3.5 points against Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels.
I'm a little confused by this spread.
Very confused.
I'm a little confused by the spread, but I think you're confused on one side. I'm confused on the other. I'm taking Brian Kelly, a man not scared to dry hump recruits.
All right. I am on Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss. I think they have to win. I think LSU's kind of should already be kind of out of the college football playoff discussion.
And you didn't like their performance against Nicholls State.
I didn't like their performance against South Carolina. I really thought South Carolina earned that win, much like I thought Cal earned that win against Miami. Probably Virginia Tech probably earned that win against Miami. I like Ole Miss to right the wrongs and eliminate Brian Kelly.
Did Vanderbilt earn that win against Missouri?
No, because Mizzou missed so many kicks. Like, they can talk about Vandy if they just made that kick. Well, if Mizzou would have made those kicks, too, it'd be over.
All right, fair enough. Fraud.
And then the last game before I give this stat I think you'll like, the premier game this weekend is at Autzen Zoo, Oregon, getting 3 points at home against Ohio State. Who do you like, Tim?
Boy, I got to tell you, on this one, it puts me to the test. I could make a passionate case for either side, essentially what goes on ESPN in the mornings. Mm-hmm. But I think there might be something a little bit different about this Buckeye team. And I hate doing it for a big game. But I think we might find out that the best team in the country is in Columbus, Ohio this year. And I'm taking the Buckeyes. I've gone back and forth.
Yeah, I've thought about this one a lot. And I'm trying to keep Oregon's first couple games where they struggle against lesser opponents.
Schools from Idaho, but Ohio State's not.
And a possible Heisman winner on one of those teams. But either way, I'm trying to eliminate that out of my mind because teams obviously get better. But I do think I'm going to buy into this Ohio State hype. They had Jim Tressel before the season.
We're taking a lot of favorites on this show.
Yeah, we have...
It's a square city. All the people actually make money gambling are just screaming at the radio. They're not screaming. They're just laughing. That's what they're doing. Laughing.
There's two discrepancies now. Some gambling history. Two games I did not include were Texas and Oklahoma. The over-under for that game, Tim, is sitting right now at 48.5. 48.5 for a Texas-Oklahoma game. I was thinking to myself, man, when was the last time it was that low? Well, there hasn't been a number that low in over 8 years. Matter of fact, there hasn't been a total in the 50s in over 8 years.
For Oklahoma, Texas, the Red River Shootout?
And this one's at 48.5.
That's quite a commentary on both Oklahoma's offense and quarterback situation in general, but as we were talking about with Gabe, their top 5 wide receivers will all not be playing tomorrow at the Cotton Bowl.
Yep. And matter of fact, in 2019, the over-under for the Red River Shootout was 77.
Sweet mother of mercy. And I think it went over, didn't it?
It did not, but the year before, I'm sorry, it was set at 81 in 2018 because the year prior in 2018, it was 48-45 was the score.
Oh, wow.
48-45. So, so when Gabe talks about, it doesn't feel like the same Red River Shootout, it's because it is not.
Oklahoma's going to have to win this one with defense. Of course, that's what we said about A&M.
That is a criminally low number. And then the last game I want to talk about real quick is Vanderbilt and Kentucky.
This is one that's putting people to the test. Vanderbilt's getting 13.5 on the road, night game in Lexington. Kentucky's got that win over Lane Kiffin at the Grove in Mississippi. Mississippi. Meanwhile, Vanderbilt has its most signature win in program history, and Diego Pavia is now a household name in college football. A lot of squares are on Vanderbilt. Well, it's square season on Balloon Party. Give me the Commodore.
It feels like, because we've talked about this before, Kentucky, they obviously almost beat Georgia, but that score was 13-12. They beat Ole Miss, but that was also another really low-scoring in 2017. That was another super low-scoring game. To cover 14 or 12, it's moved down to 13 now. You're going to have to score some points because Vandy and Pavia is going to make some magic happen. And I kind of am with you. I just feel so square because everybody's on Vanderbilt right now.
Sometimes it pays to be square. It's hip to be square. Huey Lewis, 1988. Somebody will check on that. We got a break. It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Welcome back, Balloon Party 101 ESPN. We got 5 minutes, Jackson. How are you going to make it memorable?
I want to start a new little game here.
Okay.
I call it, Who's Grifting? You tell me.
Should have been the lead.
Yeah, you tell me.
I mean, if you're going to tell me Carlos Boozer's son's the lead, I don't know who's grifting isn't the lead.
Yeah.
This could be something I could just do on a daily basis.
Who's grifting? I'm going to give you a take, and you tell me if they're.
Oh,
if it's,
God, I love this.
if it's grifting or
I
not.
don't usually like sketches or bits, but I'm on board with this bit. Or is this a sketch?
Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback, 25 or under.
I go Dan Orlovsky.
Oh, this isn't. I see where you're. This isn't guess the grifter.
That's why it's called Who's Grifting.
What I meant to say was, do you think this is a grifty take? But I do like that idea, and I'm going to amend it. Because I saw this from a guy from Sports Illustrated or some podcast where they were naming off all these.
Who's grifting?
They were naming off all these quarterbacks.
Oh, I really like this idea.
Yeah, one of them was like Dak Prescott, Jaden Daniels or Dak Prescott. Goes, I just take Jaden Daniels. I was like, oh sweet Lord, there's been 5 games. I love Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I was all over him in our fantasy football leagues.
I love Jaden Daniels.
I'm in 2 of them. I can't remember if I have him on in the 101 ESPN league. I think I do. Yeah, the one. But anyway, nobody gives a damn about your fantasy team. That's the tenet of broadcasting. It's the tenet of human interaction, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, I really need him for my fantasy team. Nobody cares! Nobody! What can we do in this world?
Yeah, I was about to say, you sounded
Nothing!
Little Fesco. Lewisburg Insider.
Well, that's good. I'm gonna pay for that.
Yeah, that
was like Sammy Hagar doing Dreams right there. I'm gonna pay for that one,
especially on Friday because you've done a little bit of yelling this week.
I mean, I'm passionate about.
Well, we talked about the MLB playoff format yesterday.
Boy, my mother-in-law was over yesterday, and she goes, "Oh, you really." And I go, "What happened?" I said, "When I get done with this stuff, I go home and I'm focused on my wedges and my spin rate. I'll be honest with you, just like everybody else who's meat and potatoes." I thought the segment was Who's Grifting.
That's better.
Yeah.
It's better. But it's good to kick this around now. So next week, next Friday.
It's good to workshop the segment on the air.
Well, yeah, that's how we've done it forever. Right. Next week, so I have a week to compile. I will come up with who's grifting, and I will give you the take, and you tell me who the grifter was.
All right.
And this will be good. Okay,
yeah, I think we stumbled into a segment here.
Like when Dan Orlovsky said Jason Kelce was the MVP last year. Should have been the MVP.
Who's grifting? Is that a grift, though? Isn't that just a engagement farm?
Yeah, but grift is a more fun way to say it.
I do like it. But then I think if we call everything grifting, then we're going to take attention away from the real grifters.
Lessens the impact, yeah.
Right.
But who's engagement farming doesn't have the same panache.
Right.
And you know me, all I look for is panache.
I know, you're a panache guy through and through. All right, what's the next one?
Deshaun Watson is the worst trade in modern NFL history.
Mike Greenberg.
That actually probably is what he said.
Oh, yeah. I'm just doing my own game over here. That was the take.
Yes. I did hear Greeny say something. That actually might be true. I think people would say the Herschel Walker trade from years gone by, but I'm talking 21st century wise. Certainly the most recent history. That is way up there. I was trying to think if the Rams had any bad trades, but they really did their work in the drafts.
That was where it really went down. The Drew Bennett signing was alarming.
Yeah, although I think they might have traded for Nick Foles, who did not look like the same quarterback he was before coming to the Rams or after he went to the Rams.
When he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles.
That was rough. And then Bob Costas is the worst playoff broadcaster.
It's just tough for me to wrap. That'd be like somebody saying, I'm the worst radio host. You know what I mean?
Subjective.
Well, it's just so not true.
Right.
We're obviously the two of the best in the history.
I know. My mind went elsewhere. You're totally right, Tim.
Jackson, I love the idea for Who's Grifting. Now, as it turns out, I fine-tuned the segment.
Yeah, but that was collaborative.
But you're going to have to go into social media with the race baiting takes.
Yeah.
We're going to have to call attention to that now. Well, I don't really like to shine a light on that grift.
No, I know. I'll be. This
is more take Smith. We're going to start screaming about something that you don't really believe. But that's grifting.
I'll come up with a better title. But I do.
Who's grifting?
It just works so well. It just works so well.
I'm a fan. It's the 10:55 we got to that. Okay, PK and Ferrario are up next for Jackson Benner-Burkett. I'm Tim McKernan. You've been listening to Who's Grifting? 101 ESPN.